Hey ladies, my name is Toun Fadugba and this is Just Between Us. So today I'm going to address a question that I've had so many ladies asking me. How do I break the ice with a guy? And is it even okay to do so, to break the ice with a guy? Yeah, the answer is yes. It is perfectly in order to break the ice with a guy. It is perfectly in order to be the first one to start a conversation with a guy. Okay, I'm not saying it's okay to chase a guy. I'm not saying it's okay to propose to a guy. But there is absolutely nothing wrong in making the first contact, in approaching a guy and starting a conversation. If I were to use myself as an example, I was the first one that started the conversation with my husband. Those days we were in college and I was a Christian, he was a Christian. He happened to be in the choir. And one day I just spotted this tall, dark, handsome guy in the choir. And I was like, who is this? Of course, a crush started immediately. He wasn't the first guy I was going to have a crush on, but there was just something about him. That feeling never went away. I prayed about it, and the more I prayed about it, the more it stayed on. So I just knew that there was something special about him, and I needed to go for it. So what did I do? When it is God, there's also a way that God works for you, that he just makes things work together. So there was this meeting that we had on campus. It was a finalist fellowship. We were both finalists that time. And it was my first time of attending. It was also his first time of attending. And so we were asked to introduce ourselves. So I stood up, I mentioned my name. He stood up, he mentioned his name. So right after the fellowship, I thought this was a good opportunity to start a conversation with him because he had mentioned his name. And I happened to have known that his dad was actually known to my dad. His dad was a lawyer in town and all that. So I just approached him afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, you're Pastor Fadugba. Is it the same Fadugba, the lawyer that said, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was our first conversation. And then of course we were both finalists. And so we kept on attending the fellowship. And so we saw more of each other. So that was how it all started. I made the first move. I started the first conversation. Now, this is something that you ladies need to consider because you see, these guys, sometimes they may even like you, but they don't want to get shunned off. They don't want to always be told no, no, no. And some ladies can be very rude. They can embarrass guys. These guys don't want to be embarrassed. That is why there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong in making them know that you are interested. There's nothing wrong about it, and that's what we're talking about. And there are many ways of doing it. For example, maybe you all go out in a group outing, maybe from church, the ladies and the guys and everything. You can just, maybe he's wearing a t-shirt that is unique. You can start a conversation with him. Or maybe he's wearing a Fearless shirt and say, oh, Fearless. And then you just start the conversation. Or maybe you will be the one that would even decide to put on something unique that that can catch somebody's attention to start a conversation. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, there's a story in the Bible about a lady, Ruth. That story is still very relevant today. If you don't know about Ruth, you can Google it. Just say Ruth in the Bible and you'll be able to read up her story. But this was it. Ruth was interested in this guy, Boaz. And what did she do? She made herself very, very attractive. And she had a very sweet spirit. She was humble, and then she made sure that she went where, this guy was going to notice her. She made sure she placed herself where this guy was going to notice her. And going back to the example I gave about myself and my husband, I remember, after we had, of course, started seeing each other in the finalist fellowship, I discovered he was also studying law. His dad was a lawyer. He was studying law, and I was studying engineering. And then I discovered that he used to come to the engineering building to study. I never used to study in the engineering building before then. But as soon as I discovered that he was studying there, I just started going to study in the engineering building too. And it was simple. I'm not asking you to push. I'm not asking you to be aggressive. I'm not asking you to dress in seductive manners to draw any guy's attention. All those will not work. It's just a very subtle thing. So I started studying there too. And of course, after studying, we'd see one another. We now started seeing each other more. So that means he started seeing me more and I started seeing him more. And then after a while, when I go to study, I used to bake some very delicious cakes those days. I would bake some cake and I would give him some cake. Sometimes I would have some fruits with me. I would give him some bananas and stuff like that. And that was how, the friendship started, the relationship started. And I was the one that started the first conversation. And see, the thing is, I never proposed to him. I never chased him. Because at the end of the day, I was just trying to catch his attention. And once I caught his attention, by the time he started chasing me, he really chased me. And then until he proposed to me, and now we are married for several years. So that's what it's all about. And you see, these skills are not what you just need before marriage. So don't put off everything I'm saying and saying, oh man, she's carnal, she's not spiritual. I'm a Christian lady. I'm not going to chase any guy. I'm not going to, try to get any guy's attention. You need the skill. Even after you are married, you need to be able to get your husband's attention. You need to be able to get his attention in several different ways to continue to spice up your marriage and make your marriage really, really exciting. Let me tell you. Another example from myself and my marriage. I remember there was once that my husband and I had a disagreement. It was like, we were not really happy with each other and all that. But I just wanted it all to end. And then there was this event that we were both supposed to attend. He was going to attend, go from his office, and I was going to go from the house. So what did I do? I made sure I picked an outfit that I just knew was absolutely going to turn my husband's head. So when we got to the event, I was all smiles as if there was no quarrel anymore. And I was showing off my outfit to him and everything. And of course, I knew my husband's heart just melted as soon as he saw me in that outfit. And that was the end of the whole thing. That was the end of the whole quarrel. You see, so that you can call this flirting. That's another word for it. You need to have flirting skills, not just before marriage, because I know that some of you are just saying, flirt, Christian girl, that's a bad word. No, it is not a bad word. It is a good word, and it's going to do you a lot of good. Even after you are married, it's going to do you a lot of good. Well, I think I've said a lot, but just to summarize it, you need to make yourself attractive. Maybe I didn't even mention this earlier on, because you see, the Bible says that God looks in the heart, but men look outside. It's true the heart matters more than the outside, but the thing is that what people see first is what's on the outside. So you have to make yourself attractive. You have to spend time on making yourself look good, wear nice outfits, nice makeup, nice perfume and all that. You need to do that. And then after that, you need to be open, to be able to start a conversation with a guy. And maybe even if you are with your group of girls, you all go out together, there's nothing wrong if you are able to make eye contact with the guy and just give him a smile. I'm not trying to be carnal. I'm not trying to be a non-believer. Believe me. And of course, you are not going to do all this outside praying to God. You still have to pray to God. Like for my husband, I like I mentioned earlier on, I had prayed and I just really knew that this was what God really had in mind for me. So anyway, I can keep going on and on and on and on, but I have to stop here. Remember, this is just between us. But I don't want you to drop any of these things I've said today. I want you to think about them and do something about it. Till next time, take care. Bye.